get yourself into a comfortable seat, whatever that one is. We're going to have a bit of a focus on shoulders tonight, partly because I've had at least 2 emails telling me they need it, and also because of the time of, right, that's more thumbs up. Also because of the time of year it is, it's where the meridians run. So that's kind of where the focus is, and there's options of where you go with the hips around that. Come in, have a sit, come and settle, let yourself come into this space. So bringing yourself into your space that you're in, the room that you're physically in, the space around your mat that you're in, but also bring yourself into your own space. So coming into your body by maybe noticing the felt sense of being here. Maybe you gradually tune into your breath. That might be challenging if there's a lot of coughing going on tonight for at least one of you. That might be a challenging place to come to. So just go really kind of easy on yourself there. You might close your eyes to kind of let yourself come inwards if that feels okay for you. It's always just an option. But having that sense that you're kind of softening your gaze, coming in a little bit more. And take a moment to notice how you are. Okay, so you might come here already knowing how you feel, what you want from yin. You might slid yourself in here from all the other stuff going on. And this is the first point you get to just stop and notice and actually kind of really think about yourself, what you need for this next hour and a bit. So give yourself that stop time. And then take 3 breaths where you're conscious of the in-breath and the out-breath. You don't need to be big, massive in and out exhales, but just that sense of, okay, there's my breath. So almost that, yes, here I am, into here, my space now. Kind of start point for the practice. And then we're going to take the left hand out to the side, just at the side of you. We're not going to take a side bend. If you can get the hand towards the floor, pressing down, then great. And then you're going to take the right hand and just gently draw the head over towards the right. Okay, so there's a little bit of stretch opening down that left side. Weight the hands enough, we're not dragging the head over. You might feel as you stay here that it becomes possible to press the heel of the hand slightly more into the floor or towards the floor, but not forcing it, just kind of feeling what it might give. And then take the hands off the head, bring it back to the center, give the wrists a little shake out. Then we'll do the same on the other side. So take the right hands towards the floor, and then take the left hand to the side of the head. Just give it a little tease over. Yeah, nice. Okay, and with the left hand, so it's partly because I consciously realized I had my shoulder halfway up my ear. So let the shoulder blade drop on the hand that's against the head. And then you might slightly press the heel of the right hand more into the floor or towards the floor, if it'll go. And then gently take that hand away. Again, give the wrists a little shake out. And then put your hands wherever they're comfy. Let your chin drop right in towards you. So as if I often think as if I've got like a soft orange under my chin and I'm trying to squeeze into it. And this might be enough for you. You might want to take one hand and gently put on the top of the head. You're not yanking the head down, but if it feels like it gives you just a little bit more stretch in the back of the neck, the head that feels nice, maybe sort of between the shoulder blades a little bit, then feel free to do that. Kind of feel what might feel nice for you. And then take the hand away, lift the face. And then the last one, we're going to take the hands behind us, maybe up on the fingertips. Lift the breastbone just a little bit. And then gaze the chin up. Okay, and let the arms at the back support you. So that in itself will give a little bit of support to the head in this position. And as if you're stretching the throat a little bit. Nice. And then bring that back down and give the shoulders a roll. Nice. Okay. So we are going to come into our first yin pose. Our first yin pose, the focus is going to be in the shoulders, and we're going to come into, so I'll show you kind of the options. You're going to come in towards melting heart, but you're going to thread your right arm through. Okay. So this isn't a twist. It's about drawing the chest down. So your forehead might be on the floor. If that feels too much near the floor, you might cushion up a couple of cushions, and you're threading the arm through with your chest down. So the outside of the right shoulder is getting a little bit stimulation. Your left arm can be straight or it can be bent. And if it feels too much on that left shoulder, you can instead come into child's pose, pressing into the outside of the right shoulder, but not getting the same reach through the other shoulder. So it's entirely up to you. But the main thing that we want to get from this pose is that stimulation onto the outside of the right shoulder. Okay. Lovely. So it's kind of pick your perfume. With hips up, for some it can be really nice to kind of feel that weight down into the shoulder. If you've got tension in your shoulder, if there's a kind of, any kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not niggles, but any sort of like nervy tension in the shoulder, it might feel too much and you might want to draw the hips back. But the suggestion is melting heart. It's because it does give the outside of the shoulder that bit more potential for stimulation, potential for weight bearing. Working with where you are. Lovely. We're going to stay in this one for around 4 minutes. So we've probably been in it about a minute now. The first few poses, we're going to stay in just a little bit less time because they are going to be very shouldery focused. So you can stay for longer in any of them if it feels like where you need to be. So as you come into this, start to just notice where your breath is, maybe the rate of your breath. Maybe there's a sense as you stay in the poses, the breath slows over time throughout the practice, which tends to be more on the yin side of things. The breath might deepen, the breath might slow. But not forcing it to do it, just kind of noticing the rate of the breath. And just by noticing if it's needing to or willing to change, it will change as we go through the practice. And the caveat of that is if you have been coughing a lot, if there's something going on for you, then actually just breathe how you breathe. Maybe focus instead on some of the felt sense of being here, rather than the breath. Now, we're just about halfway through the pose. You might really be enjoying that left arm reaching out. You might find you want to just tuck it behind if it's become too much, or you want to see just what that feels like. So it might take away a little bit from the sensation on your threaded through one. It might let you weight down a little bit more. But you might just want to see, is that more interesting, more helpful for you? And you can always go back to where it was, if that's what you want. Nice. The real focus being that outside of the right shoulder, threading it through, letting yourself gently weight into it. We'll take about another 30 seconds here, if you're still here in the pose. I know you're still here, if you're still in the pose. So 30 seconds is probably about 3 or 4 breaths, thereabouts. There might be another 1 or 2 breaths here before you find your way out of it. With the left arm's tucked behind, you probably want to bring that back to the floor, push weight into it, and come up onto all fours. Coming up onto all fours, landing on your hands. And you might kind of shift the weight from one arm to the other. And it's a bit of kind of movement. So it starts to kind of stabilize the shoulders back. You might want to do a bit cat-cow. It's finding your way into position where the arms have got a bit of weight through them now after having been stimulated around the top of the arm, the shoulder joint and scapula. A real kind of wiggle it about as you need. And we're going to come and do that pose on the other side. So we're going to come straight into the other side. When you're ready, find your way into it. So threading the left arm through and finding kind of where you need to be. So trying not to twist into it as much. And it might be that that right arm needs to bend. It's maybe quite happy, stretching out. Finding where that feels a good place for it to be with the left threaded through. And again, you've also got that option if it feels like the arms are just getting too much weight through them, too much focus, you can sink the hips back more into a child's pose. So just take some of that weight bearing out of it. There's always a balance. It's really good for us to bear weight through the joints, through the bones, which was what we're doing here in the arm, but also knowing when it becomes too much that maybe we start to kind of grit our teeth, hold on, hold in, finding your way with it. And in this position as well, with the hips up, we've got a little shift of the internal pressure. So we call our inter-abdominal pressure. We've gone all very scientific tonight. There's that kind of, I suppose you call it the core of us, our core. It's a little change in perspective. Let the organs feel different weight. Let's give the organs a different stimulation. Can help release some of them if they need it. But steadying the breath again. Maybe just taking that little check in every so often with how does the breath feel? Because by doing that often, if our breath is too fast for us, we'll notice it when we notice it. And I can't tell you what too fast is. It's just that sense of maybe it not letting us settle into the stillness as much, or we become aware of it, just not feeling quite where we want to settle. We might slow the out breath or focus on the out breath. The out breath is the place in the breath pattern that brings us more into the yin, the rest digest, the parasympathetic, that sense of more calm, relax, and rest. Your breath is always with you, so that tool's always there within us, even if at times it doesn't feel as accessible as we'd like it, it's there. And just by bringing the attention to the breath, we can find our way to slowing it or quickening it if that's what we need sometimes for more energy. We're going to take maybe just another 2 or 3 breaths here before coming out of this pose. Again, just really guiding yourself at the base when you come out of it. When you come out of it, coming onto hands and knees, opening the hands out, and again, weighting into both arms. See if you can really let yourself be on both arms after that. You might have that little shugle side to side, almost one hand's pushing you over to the other, and there might be some cat-cows. I just realised we didn't open that arm, but we've got that in another pose, so it'll get that if you wanted it. A little bit of movement here. And then there might be something you want to do before that. You might come and shake the wrists, but we're going to come down onto our tummy after that. So coming down into Sphinx pose. Okay. Propping yourself up onto your elbows and coming from the asymmetric pose into a more symmetric, although it never is, pose. Essentially, both arms are involved. Both arms get the chance to weight bear. Nice. If it feels quite icky on your back, a little bit kind of compressed into your lower back, you might pop a cushion under your lower ribs. You might pop a cushion under your tummy. The other thing actually that I was playing with was popping a cushion underneath your shins, which might for some of you feel better. It doesn't for me, but it does for some. And then letting yourself feel the weight into both sides of the body here. So again, weight bearing through the arms in a different position here, in a different way. You might become aware that one side is taking more of the weight than the other, which is quite common. So often, if you do notice that, it's kind of really let both arm bones, upper arm bones hold you. Maybe let the shoulders kind of settle together. And feeling where your Sphinx is. So if your shoulders feel like they need a bit of release, it might be really nice to let the shoulder blades drop together, but keep a bit length in the neck. The chest drops towards the floor. It might feel for you really nice to let them stretch open and have a little weight against the floor, pushing away, coming more into that lift of the chest. Really follow where your body wants to go, because if you're in one and it's not comfortable staying there, your body will soon tell you. If you kind of drop down into it, it'll tell you it starts to feel a bit too compressy or it needs to open out, and vice versa. So our system's got that really clever thing that sometimes we need to go way into one to come back out into the other. So trust that you can't get this wrong, because your body really will tell you. There might be a sense of the weight of the pelvis on the floor. Feeling the pubic bone dropping. Some weight through the thighs as well as through the arms. If that doesn't make sense for you, just let it float over your head. Stay with where you are in the pose and what the pose is telling you. It's always just suggestions from me. And we'll stay here for maybe around another 4 or 5 breaths. That's a suggestion. If you know you can stay for longer. Or you might have come out for already and enjoying just a little shugle of the bones. When you do come out of this pose, just Let yourself come out gently, maybe take the elbows out to the side, drop the chest. Let the head come to the hands or the floor and take a little shuggle off the hips. It might be nice if your head's happy being to one side to let the arms come by your side and almost feels to me like they kind of splat there. It's an option. And then again, it might be nice after that to come back up to all fours to take a cat stretch, just to come into the opposite position. Your head might drop, take a little bit of a shake. Shake no, nod yes. If that feels kind of nice for you to be there. Again, just really trusting the movements your body's telling you it needs to make. And then we're going to come to lie on our side. Now, my suggestion is that you have 2 cushions beside you if you've not got them handy. And my suggestion is that one goes underneath your head. Okay. I'm going to show you this and then I'm going to turn my back to you so you can see. So the pose is lying on your side. Your top arm, we're going to do the other side. So I'd say come to the side where you can see me. Your top arm is going to thread behind you. Okay. And we're going to let that open a little bit at the top. If I turn my back to you, you've got options where you can maybe tuck the hand in towards the waist if it will go. You can take a cushion, a couple of cushions, and you can find a place where maybe the elbow can settle. So the arms supported behind the back of the body. And there might be somewhere you find where you can open that top shoulder with some support. Lovely. And we'll stay here for around 4 minutes. So it can be, we want this to be, you want to feel sensation and opening of that top shoulder around the collarbone, the front of the chest, but in a way that feels supportive. So we're not just letting the arm just hang out in the air. It's too much for the joints there. So somewhere where it feels that it can get some support. You might find as you stay here, the arm does straighten a bit, but you might have a cushion you can prop it on. I quite like that, kind of tuck it into my lower waist, because then it focuses on the shoulder without the elbow having to take any effort or strain. Finding your way to letting that top shoulder draw back, collarbone open, and we're just on the side of the body. Again, there's no twist here. It might be really tempting to roll off that side of your body, but can you focus in on the shoulder and settle the breath? Lovely. A nice steady breath. And always going gentle with the shoulders, just because there's lots of little nerve endings, nerves through there. And also because I think our arms, our shoulders, our hands get asked to do so much. And we want to go nice and supportive with them. Giving them encouragement. Giving them the opportunity to stretch, to open, without demanding any more of them. You might find when you stay here that some things start to ease off. If it feels like maybe sort of up towards the neck starts to ease off, you might see what it's like if you've got a cushion underneath your head. You might take it away, but just checking again, it's not too much because we're bringing a wee stretch into the neck there. If it feels like that might be helpful, it's an option. You might instead kind of feel a bit more length through the arm, a bit more reach through it, which gives you new stimulation. It might feel nice just to let the arm be there, the weight of the arm opening the collarbone. And you lie here, maybe take a little notice into the jaw. So letting the jaw relax, letting the teeth relax, which sounds weird, but that can sometimes help us, just letting the jaw settle. There might even be a sense that the ears can relax. If any of them make sense for you, then use them. And then we'll take just another couple of breaths here, unless you want to stay for longer. When you do come out of this one, go easy on that top arm. Just find your way to bringing it back. Maybe let the arm rest on your side for a little bit. And then feeling where you want to go, you might want to come and let it rest on the other arm. And my suggestion to get a little bit of movement before we do the other side is that you roll onto your back, let the shoulder blades settle back to the floor, and you might want to simply circle the wrists. It might feel that you want to take the arms up, a bit like zombie arms, get a bit of movement there. But if it feels like actually it'd be quite nice, we can do some circles of the arms to start to move the whole arm with the rest of the body. Okay, so just again, I kind of always go a bit random here. It's like I'm doing some kind of random dance with my hands in there. If you're of an age, you remember Gregory's Girl, you know what I mean. And then just in your own time, roll to the other side and do the same thing. So take your time setting it up. I think this is the secret for this one. Take time setting it up. You know, kind of let yourself be somewhere with it. Check if it feels too much, not enough. There's no rush to get into this one. So again, the upper arm's gonna come behind your back somewhere, the hands somewhere behind the back of your body. It might just tuck into underneath your waist on the lower side. That might be too much for you. Cushion might help support. Feeling, or you might have your kind of hands on the cushion. Lovely. And settling in, finding your pose here. When you come to ones that, let's say, are more familiar, less isolated. Bring the rest of the body in after this one. Come and find this pose. Nice. Settle in steady. It can be a sense that the lower half of your body that you're resting on can settle into the floor, which in its own way gives a bit of support to that upper shoulder, collarbone. Just letting the arm settle, so we're not trying to haul it back, force it open. Definitely a place to start easier, to find your way with it as you go through the pose. It can be one of the ones I think sometimes there's almost not much to feel, and then it creeps in as I stay in terms of awareness or feeling things open or ease. Nice. Letting the breath steady. And you might, again, bring some casual awareness to the jaw, the face, at some point in the pose. Let the teeth relax, the tongue relax, the ears. Which might in itself take some ease out of any tightness in the jaw. Again, you might be really happy with the head on a cushion if that's what it is. It might feel like there's enough going on. If it does feel like some stuff ease out, and it might be quite nice to bring just a really gentle stretching towards the neck, you might take the cushion away, let the head rest. So kind of making sure if you do that, the ears towards the floor, so you haven't turned the head towards the ceiling, just to get a very gentle stretch through the neck. So it's an option if you want it. definitely an option to just overrule it and decide it's not needed. Noticing what you notice here. And if it starts to get tingly, you might gently kind of bring it back in and waiting just to see how it evolves. And then the suggestions, another 3 or 4 breaths here before coming out of the pose, thereabouts. Again, always the option to stay for longer if it feels it's needed. When you do come out of this pose, gently bringing that arm back over. You might rest it with the hands to the front for a wee moment, or you might rest it onto the other arm. And again, our next pose is going to be from our back. So again, my suggestion is come and roll on your back. Come back into letting both shoulder blades be settled with the floor for support. And then again, you might want to let them come up, shake the wrists out, or take some circles. Your arms might be telling you, we've had enough attention, get out of there. And actually what you might want to do is have a bit of sway of the hips if that feels like nice to go to instead. So really listen into if shoulders do feel like they've had enough going on. Okay, so whatever kind of feels like a nice way to sway those sensations around the rest of your body. Then for our next pose, when you're ready, we're going to come back to the cushions again, and we're going to take cushion underneath the middle back. Okay. Again, you might decide that you want a cushion under your head. You might start with that and change your mind about the cushion, or you might know already, actually, I don't need the cushion. It feels like it gives me an opening I need without it. So again, just kind of feel your way. And if in doubt, I would always say, if in doubt, go with the easier option, because you'll soon kind of feel things ease off and you can increase it in again, rather than going in for it and needing to unwind yourself and the nervous system out of it. So from there, the arms are going to open. Okay, now they might open really nicely wide. There might be a kind of reach up, or it might feel that they need to come down more towards the hips. So finding the place again where you can maybe get some sensation across the front of the chest, the front of the arms, but it feels just right for you. And the legs are, so my suggestion is keep them bent, unless you know for some reason that just becomes uncomfortable for you, in which case you might straighten them out or drop the knees together. So bending them just to let the hip flexors relax a little bit with this, and to open the chest. Nice. So this is going to be the last one where we specifically focus on upper body, chest, shoulders. We're going to wind our way down towards the hips after this one. So settling, steadying. And can you let the back of your body rest onto that cushion? Maybe even being aware if it wants to curve over it, lift up over it, settle down. The out breath can be helpful to do that. If you're aware it kind of feels it can't settle into the cushion, then let your out breath drop for a few times, like the breath's just kind of fading out, dropping away. Often when we do get tight in the chest or the front of the shoulders, it can be that sense of holding our breath a little bit, pulling it in. So this can be a nice place to play with, letting the breath ease away, drop away. A nice steady rhythm. might feel the pelvis settled heavy into the floor. If things ease off at the chest, you might just subtly lengthen the arms out a little bit, might be all you need to just bring some of the sensations back. Or there might be a slightly bigger breath and a sigh out. Keeps that flame of sensation alive if things start to ease out a little bit. And again, you have the option, if there's enough going on for you here, if there's a trail to follow, stay with that. It feels like there might be just something else. You can try taking the cushion away if you've got a cushion under your head, letting the chin lift slightly, just checking in that that doesn't feel like it's too rolling back for you, okay? If it feels like it'd be interesting to do that, but maybe without the cushion, you can lift the chin a little bit, get a bit of stimulation in the throat there. Slightly different in the collarbones, but still with the support of the cushion. And it's all just options. Finding a place where the breath can be steady. You can notice the sensations, follow the sensations. But on that nice edge, and what I mean by nice edge is you're not there wondering if you'll be able to manage to be here for longer. That's where you are. Just ease out slightly from that. We're never going to the place where there's no sensation to follow, or there's sensations that we're really not sure about if we can stay here, finding that balanced place between. My suggestion is around another minute here. Noticing how that feels, how it sounds. It might feel that'll be plenty. If it feels like that might not be enough, it feels like that at the moment, then maybe you do stay longer. So that might be another 2 or 3 breaths from here before you ease your way out of this pose. It might be more. When you do come out of this pose, come out of it by rolling to one side, draw one arm in, roll into one side, take the cushion away, pop it to the side and come and lie on your back again. Okay, with cushion under head or not, come and lie on your back. Just let your spine settle back towards the floor. And then you might feel where you want a bit of movement. The legs might sway, the arms might want to move again. It might be, in case it's interesting, I kind of want to hug myself and almost take a little rock with my rib cage. Might be something just quite unique to you. Notice where you want to go, where the movement is for you. It's that sense of, like I've said a few times, like when you put oil in a pan, it's got to move the pan about to coat it. We're doing that with this fascia. Our next pose, when you're ready to come there, is going to be a reclining twist. Okay, and I'm going to give an option if twist isn't working for you tonight, which I know for a couple of you it might not be where you want to go. So if you are coming into reclining twist, lift your hips up and take them slightly over to the right, and then put your knees and feet together and roll your knees over to the left. So the knees are to the left in your reclining twist. If a twist is just not going to work for you tonight, you have the option instead to come into half moon, Bananasana, where you take the feet over to the left, you shuggle the shoulders to the left, and you come into that half half bend. Okay, so either or. Just know there's a few things, lower back things, which might prefer the latter. But I would say the twist, if it's an option for you, if it feels like, yeah, I'm good to go there, then to give yourself that stimulation around the center. Open the arms to bring us into the center of the breath. Give it a little bit of ringing out, for want of a better word. Finding your twist, finding your shape. And with the twist, the other reason I'm coming here, we've done quite a bit of opening the shoulders, giving them some different positions. That maybe the twist becomes a little bit different coming into it now, with the shoulders slightly opened, eased. Quite often when our shoulders are tensing in and holding and we ask the body to twist, the middle of the spine where we have more twist isn't quite as accommodating. And it might be where we feel a little bit stuck in the twist. Come into these nice steady breaths. Settle in. See if you can receive the floor. Again, maybe those out breaths. Just let you settle in. It might be interesting to notice the shoulder blades, if they've got a sense of weight as well. As if they can just allow their weight to come to the floor. Again, not leaving them in the position, just hanging there. That right shoulder can always get a bit of support under it. It feels it's just kind of left in the air there. Nice steady breaths. Where we've done quite a lot of attention specifically into the upper body. Let's consciously bring our attention to the whole body. The whole body's been in all the other poses as well. Maybe we're bringing the sensations more to the hip, the outside edge of the body, but also feeling the breath more in the center of the body. Maybe letting the legs rest into the floor, rest into this position. In that sense, start to bring some of the focus away from the upper body, the attention away from it. Coming into the whole body. Nice steady breaths. Every so often you might take a bit more of a drop away with the out breath. As if it's a sigh that then just kind of ebbs out. Not rushing to take the in-breath. The in-breath will happen when it's ready. And always just reminding you that breathing's a little bit laboured at the moment with coughing, then maybe that's where you notice the felt sense of the body on the floor. taking some of that intensity of intention away from any breath that feels quite how it usually is, I suppose. And we might take another couple of breaths here. We're gently easing our way out of this pose. When you do come out this one, you might want to just kind of draw the knees in a little bit, roll them over. Once you're back over, bring the hips back to the center and feel where the legs might want to go. They might want to stretch out, they might want to hug in. That's totally what I want to do. A little hug or a roll, or maybe there's some windscreen wipers with the legs. Maybe you just need a good stretch out of the legs and a good stretch out of the arms. Feeling where you need to be. Lovely. And then we'll come and do the other side when you're ready. So when you're ready, feet are back to the floor. You're going to lift the hips up and take them slightly over to the left this time, bringing that right leg over to meet the left, and then rolling the knees to the right, coming into that twist on the other side. Again, feel your way into the twist. Maybe you need a prop underneath the left arm. Maybe there's cushions underneath the legs or between the knees. Come and find your twist here. And settle in. And if you were in half bends on rather than the twist, then obviously come into that half bend on this side, taking the feet to the right, the shoulders to the right instead. And then settle in. Maybe a couple of breaths dropping into it, where there's connection with the floor, settling into the floor. Maybe you can let the tissues rest into that. Again, there might be that sense that the shoulder blades can settle towards the floor and the weight to the shoulder blades, so they're not left hanging. Nice. Notice what you notice here. Noticing how it is on this side. Not in comparison, but just coming into this newness of this side. Again, maybe letting the legs rest into this pose. Maybe taking the breath into the center, into the tummy. So that, yes, we're opening the chest. Yes, there's some stimulation around the top there, but actually we're being aware of the whole of the body. We're bringing the rest of the body into our frame of reference, into our attention. Integrating everything into the whole body. It can become really easy to get focused on one area or one part, particularly if we know there's a tightness or something doesn't quite feel like it's sitting in the right place. We can really kind of go at that area. And sometimes it's okay, give it some attention, come away. Come away to the rest of the body. What do you notice? And that in itself can be really helpful for those areas where maybe they do need work, maybe they do need a bit of attention. But we're ebbing and flowing with that attention. A bit of a rest out of it to come back in. Kind of the way with everything. There might be things that we need to give our attention to. There might be things we need to change and somehow adapt, shift. Like take some time, focus on it, let it stay for a bit, and then we can go again. Ebb and flow. Remembering what else there is. Nice steady breaths here. Noticing what you notice. Whether that's physical sensations, whether that's a patterning that you notice. If you become prone to going down a rabbit hole of noticing something and then that means, and that means, and that means, you stay with what you notice, stay with the physical sensation. With that's what it is. So we're not creating the story around it. We're giving ourselves a whole list of things to do with what we've noticed. Notice it for what it is here now. You might stay here for another 4 or 5 breaths. You might stay for longer. You might have come out of the pose. If you have, just feel your way to where you want to be. We'll find you in the next pose. And again, when you come out of this pose, go gently. Sometimes quite nice to draw the knees in more to round the back slightly so we can roll onto our back. And then we can pop the feet to the floor, balance the pelvis. So we can come back to the center if you're in the half bend. Again, just notice where you might want to move. Just because we're on our back, that doesn't mean you can't roll to your side, you can't roll to all fours. The legs might well windscreen wiper, the arms might move. Our next pose is going to be on our back, but it doesn't mean you need to stay here if you know that, oh, I just need to go there for a wee moment. Really just listen into that. And then our next pose is going to bring the stimulation down towards the hips, okay? So when you're ready, just when you're ready, our next pose is going to be reclining butterfly. We're going to bring the soles of the feet together, the knees open, and settling into here and feeling where's right for you here. Okay, so you might want to pop cushions underneath the outside of the thighs. You might need that. There might be a little something just gets popped under the curve of your back to give that a little bit of steadiness. Maybe you'd quite like your head on a blanket, on a pillow or a blanket. And feeling where the arms want to go here. If the arms have really enjoyed being opening and still want some more of that, then feel free. There might be a sense of actually now it's time to just let them rest and close. So for me, I really want to just let them rest on my body. Giving them that sense of doing much less now. Feel where you want to be here. The focus being on the hips opening and it being I suppose a balanced pose. It's not symmetrical, but we've got that sense of both sides are doing something similar. You might let the back of the body rest into the floor. Maybe it feels really nice to let the back of the ribs settle. Sense that the breastbone can drop or the diaphragm can really be supported by the floor. Again, that sense of doing less here, even with the hips being opened. I'm not trying to force anything to be anywhere. Letting those hips have a little bit opening. Steady breath. Noticing what you notice here. Feeling what you feel. There might be a casual glance in to notice tension or not in the jaw. Maybe some cues earlier were helpful for you, the teeth relaxing, the tongue resting, the ears relaxing. Noticing what you notice. You might be noticing that your tummy's having a wee gurgle to itself. If you're coming into rest and digest, you might be noticing that mine's doing that. I'm not sure if you can hear it or not. At any point in the practice, if your tummy does have a little gurgle away, that is your rest and digest. It's a sign of coming into the yin time. It's a really good, healthy sign. Again, staying with the attention here. If you find the mind starts to go on a little journey, a little story, a wee rabbit hole of things from what it notices. Notice what's here. It is what it is. Stay with what you notice for what it is. Often that can be the challenge. It goes in phases. Sometimes it's noticing anything when we are so kind of conditioned now to desensitizing away from our physical noticing what we need by listening to our body. And sometimes then we can notice, we can keep noticing and create stories about what we need to do with that. Notice it, wait. In our awareness, there can be some insight into what we need and our needs being met. We can wait, we can notice, really let ourselves feel it. The monkey mind wanders away into a whole list of things it needs. Just come back to the sensations, simply the sensations. You might choose to stay here for longer if it feels really nice for you here. You might take another breath or two and then find your way out of the pose. The suggestion for coming out is you walk the feet a little bit wider to then roll onto the soles of the feet and bring the knees in. And then feel where you might want to go there. So there might be a dropping of the knees in towards each other. There might be a little bit of a swaying, wee windscreen wiper or something else. For me, I definitely want to let my legs lengthen out after all that time in bed. Lovely. Again, just some nice, easy movement. We have one more pose before Shavasana. So our next pose, we're going to bring our feet up. So your feet up might be bringing the knees in, hugging behind, letting yourself come into a little bit of a reclining child's pose. You might enjoy taking the feet up with knees bent or legs straight, depending on your flexibility. If it feels like the feet want to be up, but this is quite a challenge to hold the legs up, the thing that I find is helpful is to have a cushion or two just underneath your tailbone, not necessarily under the whole of your hips. So giving a little tilt, which can maybe help you stay into legs up easier, if that's what you want. Okay. Maybe just finding a place where the feet get to come up from the floor somehow. Nice. You might find that there's a little bit of movement there, might feel quite nice. If you need more, if there's a real sense of I need a stretch here, then happy baby is an option as well. Okay, so it can put a little bit of kind of load into it, maybe a bit more stretch. If you know that you need to be sort of gentle with yourself, it's about the coming here, getting time to myself, just some space, then go for that kind of simple one, either knees bent or feet up. Nice. The suggestion is we're here for about 3 or 4 minutes. And I always think the legs up that there sometimes just comes a time where you know that's it. They've had enough, they've done what they need. And you can simply maybe hug the knees, bring the feet down if the feet are up. Nice steady breath. Yeah, maybe a kind of lightness in the feet, but a kind of sense of weighting the back of the body. The rib cage dropping into the floor. There can be a lightness and a heaviness at the same time. If the legs up, get a sense that they're starting to feel the effort, that like a muscular effort of being held up, then bend the knees in instead. Nice. Body will tell you when it needs to either do less or more in this pose. Nice steady breath wherever you are. Noticing what you notice. It might be the physical sensations. There might also just be that sense of noticing if things do feel calm. Notice that. If you find yourself going, this feels nice, notice that. There might be a I often think those are the kind of things that it's like, oh, I noticed that and that feels quite nice. It's also, you know, notice if something feels straight in. Okay, notice that. And if your feet are still up in the air, if you know that they just want to stay here for longer, Caroline, then absolutely do that. If it feels like, yeah, it might have been enough, then come into having your knees bent and hugging your knees. Maybe you've kind of had your hands underneath the back of your knees, bring them over your knees, take a little hug and draw the knees in. And we'll stay for maybe just 2, 3, 4 breaths. Can you breathe into the back of the body and then really kind of let the knees drop in towards you on the out breath? The sense that we're breathing into the back of the lungs. And then the knees curl in on the out breath. There might be 2, 3, 4 breaths there before you naturally start to uncurl. So maybe keeping hold of one knee, drop the other foot, then dropping the other leg, bringing the feet back to the floor. If there's been a cushion under your tailbone, lift that. And then just feeling your way into any sort of final movements you might want, anything that feels like, oh, I've just got to do this before I settle. And then coming to your Shavasana when you're ready. Somewhere that's comfortable, get yourself cozy if you need to add some layers or get a blanket. Come and find your nice, easy doing less place. It's quite a yin-y practice, that second half. So coming into that really comfy place for you, whatever it is. When you get there, you might take 3 breaths where again, can you let the out breath drop away? Let it go. Not forcing the in breath in, letting it happen. And then it's definitely time for me to not be talking, so you can get some quiet time from me. And I'll meet you back here in a few minutes to finish the practice. Enjoy. If doing less is something you need more of, then stay here. If it feels like it's time to find your way towards the end of the practice, then in some gentle movement, you're ready. Find your way gradually towards a seated position. Take your time. Whenever you do get there, give yourself time to be upright again. Again, you might just take a moment just to notice how it feels to be upright here, how you feel, how you're doing. Nice. Give the shoulders a gentle roll, and then let them settle. And then this time, rather than taking the hand to the head, we'll drop one ear towards one shoulder. Let it settle there. Nice. And then back to the center, and then over to the other side. Back to the center, and then again we'll drop the chin towards the chest. And then gently bringing the gaze back to the center, and again gently looking up, lifting the chin up, opening the front. And then let the head come back down, roll the shoulders again, and then take just a final stretch up. We might kind of do a bit of a kind of one of those cartoon wake up in the mornings. And then bring it down and bring your hands to heart center, so that you can thank yourself for being here. And I mean being here, not just being here. Thank yourself for being here. And thank yourself for being you. Thank you from me for being here, and thank you for being you. Namaste.